Math Lesson 4, Introduction to Insurances. So, this introduction has a lot to do with just what exactly is insurance. So, insurance, let's say you buy a car and you want to drive it around. You have to have insurance before the government will allow you to get onto the road and actually drive it. Why? It's because the fact of driving is risky. Believe it or not, if you have a license, it doesn't mean you'll never crash. I have never, but whatever. So, in a case of a collision, and it's a big accident, it could cost quite a bit of money. So, in that case, somebody has to have this money. But if you just barely had enough money to pay for the car, 3 days later you end up on the 401 in some kind of block up and somebody just rear ends you. Who's going to pay for this? The other guy. But if 5 weeks later you get your car fixed up, or however that happens, and you end up crashing into someone, you're on a snowy road, or whatever the case may be, if you're at fault, you are the one having to pay for it. And in that case, where's that money going to come from? If you have basically scraped your money all out of your wallet just to pay for this car. So in that case, insurance is there to help with those unexpected costs. But one thing that we have to be careful with is not to take our trust away from God and just say, yep, the insurance will take care of it all, and I don't need to trust in God. Even though God is a supernatural being and he is some abstract thing that we can only imagine right now, that does not mean we cannot actually put our trust in God. So the encouragement in this lesson is that we don't get the highest amount of insurance possible, but that we should trust God to protect us. There's in your book, there's some little boxes with some Bible verses in there. There's one verse that I wanted to point out, and then we're going to get back into the actual insurance part. It says, it is better to trust in the Lord than to put your confidence in man. Psalm 118, verse 8. So that is basically the point of this lesson is you have to have some insurance to satisfy the law, the government, the state, the province, wherever we are. But that should be at minimum. And then there's also such a thing as life insurance, that if whoever pays for the bills in the home, which is normally the father, if he suddenly passes away, what will the widow and the orphan do? And in that case, either we can have life insurance or the church would take care of it. It's highly recommended that the church takes care of those people because they are asked to take care of the widowed and orphaned. So the three terms that we have are policy, premium, and deductible. The policy is basically, what kind of insurance do you want? Are they going to have? So that's the agreement, the written agreement between me and the insurance company. The next one is premium. That is the amount of money that you have to give either in a year or a month or however often that is. But that's the amount of money you give to keep your insurance policy going. And then there's the deductible. Let's say, I'll take a real life example. There was a fellow in our area that ended up putting corn onto the highway so that there would be deer eating on the highway and then always crashing into the deer. And now, who pays for that? Does the insurance company pay for it all every single time? No. They do pay for some of it. But, well, I'll finish the story afterwards, just as a side note. But what actually happens is, let's say I was the car driver crashing into these deer. I have to give the deductible of, let's say, $50, $100, $1,000, I have to give that before the insurance company gives me the rest of the money of that collision. So that is what the deductible is. How much you have to give before the insurance company gives you the money to finish off the bills. So in this crash, basically the guy wanted deer, but he didn't have his hunting license, so he was crashing into them. Called the cops, hey, I crashed into a deer, can I take it with? And then, yeah, he basically killed those deer just by ramming into them. Anyway, back to this lesson. You can do number 1, 2, and 3 on your own, because those are just a policy premium and deductible. What are they? So match those. And then number 4 is basically saying the word quarterly is what we're looking at here. Quarterly happens 4 times a year, annually just happens once. So this lady could buy insurance for $32, and then she would have to pay it 4 times a year, 32, 32, 32, and 32, and then that was for the entire year. Or she could just buy it, pay for it once, and it'd be $120. Now, the question in this story problem is, how much more does she pay per year for coverage on her car if she chooses the quarterly payment method? So basically, take your 32, which is the amount she has to pay quarterly, multiply that by 4. How much is that? And then subtract it by how much it's yearly, and then we can see the difference, how much more she's paying for paying it quarterly than paying it yearly. So that is what insurance is. Basically, don't put your trust in the insurance all the way. Trust in God rather than the insurance. Go ahead and do the rest of the lesson on your own.